This is ShadowCasts Infinite, and coming to you live. It's been a while, and I know this is taking a long time for me to upload this. This is probably my second attempt, so we'll get right to it. Let's go.
Who done stepped in the game at point blank range? Who done stepped in the game at point blank range? Who done stepped in the game? Stepped in the game. Stepped in the game.
Basically, their online service and all the online features that come with it are on a phone app. That is correct. The Switch's online service is not on the actual Switch itself. It's not on the actual gaming machine itself.
Allow me to correct you there, dear Shokio. That is woefully incorrect to assume that the Nintendo Switch's online service is all on an app. I'll give you a list, just so you understand. Friend lists are natively on the Switch. Multiplayer matchmaking is natively on the Switch. System notifications are natively on the Switch. System updates are natively on the Switch. DLC is natively on the Switch. eShop and how you purchase games is natively on the Switch. Parental controls are natively on the Switch, and there's a smartphone app that ties into what's natively on the Switch. There are several Switch games that have already released prior to this app being available that obviously prove that this is accurate. I mean, Super Street Fighter 2, the new update for NBA Playgrounds, and several other online titles such as ARMS, Mario Kart, what have you, clearly prove that the online service is on the console itself. But I get it. Somebody would say, Shokio clearly meant that he was talking about the voice chat. Then why would he say all the online features are on the app? Now, if he just meant all the voice chat is on the app, or the lobbies are all on the app, then I would get it. But even then he'd be wrong, because even the lobbies are not natively on the app, because lobbies exist in other games that are online. The lobby in Splatoon 2 is natively hosted on the console. The only thing the app does is make a connection between the console, the server that the matchmaking is happening on, and the app. The app makes the connection between the console and the server, and there you have it. It's reading data rather than writing. To the point where your console has to send a notification to your phone to invite other people to your voice chat lobby. The voice chat lobby is natively on the console. You're just pointing to it to be able to hear it. For the cheap seats, Shokio is saying that all the features, the online features, are on the app. None of them are, not even voice chat. The app itself is just reading data that is natively existing on a server or on the console itself, which is why you're able to read certain data and see certain things, such as your play session data for Splatoon. You're able to order items from Splatoon. It points to a server, which points back to the console to deliver the media that you need. And for people that don't want to believe me, we can just quote Nintendo again from the online app fact that was released as soon as this app was released before the Splatoon 2 game was launched. And it says, and I quote, "The Nintendo Switch Online app provides additional features such as voice chat and the ability to send user invites over social media, but it is not required to play Splatoon 2 online." I mean, there natively it means that the online is not on the phone, but on the console itself. Only certain features that are not on the console are enabled within the app, but the console is still required to do any of it. Basically, you can't create an online lobby without having the Splatoon 2 game, or having the console on, or having the game on. If there was such a thing that was possible where it was only on the app itself, the console wouldn't be required. So what is the app doing? It's reading the data from the console and from the online service, which is hosted on the cloud Amazon services that Nintendo has been using since the Nintendo Wii was launched. Shokio's statement, the Switch's service is not on the actual Switch itself, is patently false, I'm afraid. There's nothing accurate in that statement. You have access to the features using the app. The service itself is somewhere different entirely. Hence the reason you need to sign in to My Nintendo before even finding your console. And then connecting to your console, which has the session. And then making sure that Splatoon 2 is in the lobby to point to My Nintendo, to point back to the app to let the app know that the session is in progress.
You know, with the Wii generation, right? Nintendo didn't even really have a real actual, online service like that. They had what was called the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which was purely pretty much just the servers that the games online ran on. It wasn't a centralized, online platform for the actual, systems themselves. You know what I'm saying? Outside of, like the eShop, stuff like that. But outside of that, there wasn't really any like services and things of that nature. There wasn't an account system with that, things of that nature.
So here's another kind of outlandish claim that Nintendo Wi-Fi connection wasn't a centralized online platform. Except you would have to know what centralized online platform means. And in the world of IT, a centralized online platform means that all updates and all management comes from one central server or one central management interface and is spread across to multiple devices. In other words, every console isn't treated individually, and you, console A, you get this update, and you, console B, you get this update because you're a different serial number than console A. That doesn't happen anymore, and that hasn't happened for the past 20 years with regards to information technology. So if you're talking about a centralized online platform being this one feature that you want as a user, i.e. a username or a one account to use on multiple consoles, that's a completely different definition entirely. So centralized online platform in the technology sense is actually happening on Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, because you can't say it wasn't centralized just because it doesn't have every checkbox that Sony and Microsoft have. So centralized IT platforms are just that, infrastructures that treat clients or consoles as one singular device rather than thousands or millions of clients treated individually. Nintendo, the NYFIC, or Nintendo Wi-Fi connection at the time, and the Nintendo Switch and every platform in between at that point, to include the DS all the way up to the 3DS and now the Nintendo Switch, they use Amazon S3 services, which is the back end of their web service proper and their online service proper. So it is a unified online platform used for databases, storage area network or SAN, web services, and it's all based on a unified account system. Gee, I wonder what they mean by unified account system. That means that every Nintendo Network ID or every friend code is essentially a gamer tag, because a gamer tag is just AXI converted to hex, which is an account number that goes in a database that shows that you're different, and these are the stats for you that are different. And these are the account information that you have when you sign into different games and whatnot. So a friend code and a gamer tag are the exact same thing with regards to backend and server information. But, most gamers don't want to get into that conversation. They want to get into, what do I see in my face? Well, what you see in your face is a unified ID on Nintendo Wi-Fi connection is your friend code. It's binary representation of the same hex string you see with a gamer tag. It's the exact same thing. So an example, in my case, T-Swan Ace, which is one of my my gamer tag handles on various platforms, that would equal any type of hexadecimal code, and I could list the exact same hexadecimal value. I'll probably put it on this video maybe just to show you. It's encrypted and salted depending on what type of platform you have, platform as a service that you have. So it's going to end up being a different key depending on which platform you have with that same base information. And it's going to be a different value on different platforms, and then it's treated differently. So that different hash, there's going to be a different hash for, say, Nintendo Wi-Fi Network or My Nintendo or your Nintendo Network ID. They're all treated differently because they're all seen differently. but it's still a unified account because that value is never going to be interchanged with anybody else's value. And at the same point in time, that value can be pulled from any server that's compatible with it or that knows that hexadecimal code and has additional database information to relate to it. Sorry if that's a little bit technical, but that's what's happening under the hood. And you don't need too much information other than a web browser that interfaces with any of these consoles, or you can just log on to Miiverse and watch what happens when you sign in. Just look at the cached information that's there, and you'll see exactly what's happening with your user ID and how it relates to the information that's on the server for Miiverse or whatever you're signing into at that point in time, or My Nintendo or what have you.
And also, the Wii was a weak, very underpowered system for that time, more so than the Wii U was, and more so than the Switch is right now.
So you say that the Wii was weak and underpowered for that time, but that time was 2006, in which HD adoption was insignificant at best. And you're comparing it to two other platforms, which at the time were promising 1080p gaming, and in the situation of the PlayStation 3 before launch, 2x 1080p gaming, two simultaneously running 1080p streams based on two HDMI ports that were supposed to be on the back of the launch platform. We all know that didn't happen. However, that was the initial promise, and both consoles woefully undelivered in that regard. The vast majority of games were running sub 720p at best, if any type of fidelity was going on in any of these games. And fidelity is the quotation because that's basically a misnomer in itself. It's a perceived quality based on the person that's looking at it, and that's used by a bunch of trolls out there, and when you question them on it, they really don't have an answer for you. The Wii, by contrast, was a 480p console, and it was overkill for 480p. Everything that you needed with regards to fill rate and the amount of polygons that you're transforming per second, it well then overperformed that. You're talking about the console that ran Resident Evil 4 having absolutely no problem running that with additional motion controls and other CPU intensive tasks and the port for it. And we all know that was a throwaway port. It wasn't like they sat down and completely tried to rewrite the code to see how well it will work on that new hardware. So the Wii never really was actualized. Nobody actually put a whole bunch of development time into it, with the exception of maybe Monolith and some of the things they were doing with some of the extreme in very large environments that were in games such as Xenoblade. So when you start to talk about things like that, and you start to compare, say, the large world of something like Xenoblade versus the contrived spaces in a game such as Gears of War, just to hide the same issues that were in Wii games, such as the resolution of textures being very low in certain areas and very high in others, that console was far more capable for what it was intended to do in 2006 than the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 in 2006 and 2005 respectively. So to make the statement that the Wii was underpowered for that time, I don't know exactly what you're trying to say, other than you're trying to say directly the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were more powerful, but what they were trying to do, they weren't powerful enough for. The Wii was, and then some, because the GameCube was, and then some. And the Wii was significantly more powerful than the GameCube, the original Xbox, or what have you, due to some of the extra registers that were given in the CPU and the GPU with regards to the upgraded texture environment and stuff like that. So, and let's not also forget the fact that there's twice as much, well, 4 times as much memory in it as well. I don't know what he wants to get at. I can go into the argument about HD penetration and the fact that it was well under 25 million for the entire country in 2006. So that's obviously a quarter of the amount of user base that the Wii eventually ended up getting. So obviously Nintendo bet right when they waited for the HD penetration to be way higher with regards to Wii U instead of Wii.
Then the Wii U came along. Nope. Still no type of party chat system.
So let me get this straight. You were just talking about a unified online system, and Wii U 3DS fit that bill more than ever. Now you want to move the goalposts to cross-party, cross-game chat, and party chat. Isn't that something that the Xbox One failed to have working at launch? I mean, I'll go ahead and post evidence of that in the description as well, in case anybody thinks that I'm lying about that.
They kind of had the account thing going, like kind of towards the end there, but it was never full fledged. Never really blossomed to a full, real thing.
The account thing, it wasn't towards the end because Wii U had Nintendo IDs from the beginning, and it worked across the 3DS, the Wii U, Miiverse.net, Nintendo.com, the Mario Kart 8 website, and various other different places where it worked and whatnot. And eventually came to Nintendo's own iOS apps and Android apps as well. So that's the very definition of universal account system. So I don't know what else you're getting at there.
And the Wii U never even really received any updates that added any type of added online functionality or features and things of that nature.
You never received any updates that added online features. Once again, you're woefully incorrect, Shokio. Wii U's online barely even worked out of the box at launch. You had to download a day one update for things like Nintendo TV, Miiverse, individual game updates, etc. That was a big deal because people were complaining because it was the first Nintendo console where you had to do that off the rip. So I don't know where you got that from. And in addition to that, the Wii U got 23 system updates over its lifespan. So it was several major updates, and they added things like interface updates, feature updates, security, and overall stability. And I can post a link to that big long list of all those updates as well.
Miiverse was cool, but they stopped updating that fairly quickly.
There was a huge update to Miiverse in 2015 that radically designed the layout of the interface, as well as allowing you the ability to make and edit posts from a web browser. You could also add and follow friends from a browser also on the PC. And, it took away the one feature that I like. One of the features that I like was the fact that you, from the beginning, after the day one update, you could add custom achievements and then post about them. You have your screenshot on there and say, hey, you know what? In this game, I killed Ganon this quick or whatever, or I killed Demise this quick, and you can add a custom achievement to that. And they took that away with the update to the massive update to Miiverse in 2015. Although you could still see the old custom achievements that you did back in the day on Miiverse, you couldn't create new ones, and to me that kind of hurt. But the scrapbook is nice, and your gameplay, you can have your gameplay history over a series of pictures and comments and posts that people could yell whatnot on Miiverse. So that new interface overhaul that Shokio says doesn't exist was actually pretty nice, and I still like it to this day, and I just posted on Miiverse probably a couple of days ago. And yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. Shokio, what are you talking about? They ended all the updates early. I don't get that. Did you not play the system in the past 3 years?
And this is a word a lot of you Nintendo guys swear it doesn't exist. Standard. Oh, there goes that word. Standard online. There's no way the Switch wouldn't have standard online.
Well, Shokio, I have to disagree there. Standards do exist. It depends on which standards you're talking about. Now, our discussion originally was talking about industry standards because you were talking about trying to compare online to resolution at that point. And at that point, we started talking about how resolutions were ratified as standards. Video games didn't ratify them. The ASTC and the film industry ratified them. Video games just adhere to them because of how they're developed on PC and for the NSTC TV standards we have here in the US. Talking about standard, or just standard, the definition, really doesn't mean anything. The base definition of standard means it happened more than one time. Nintendo has developed consoles in their online the way that they have more than one time if you count Wii, Wii U, DS, 3DS, DSi. So the way that they do online is standard as well. Nintendo fans believe in standards. They believe in the common standard that you're talking about. But when you try to create your own definitions of what the words mean, they create misnomers and they mislead people. So here are the facts. Industry standards are things ratified by an organization, be it IEEE or ASTC, or even the video game, the one video game industry standard there is, and that's the rating system, ESRB. Now, standards, or just the definition of standards, are many things that are commonplace. There are USB ports on consoles. Consoles have a CPU. Consoles have a GPU. Consoles have controllers. Those are standards because they are common. That means they've happened more than once. But that also means the Wii Remote is standard because motion controls have happened more than once. See the Power Glove, see the U-Force, see, I guess I can't think of the name of the Sega one that it had, the reactionary force that it had for the Genesis back in the day. But it's not the first motion-based control that have happened. So those are standard. So is lower resolution because 540p games still exist even in the 8th generation. So 540p is standard because it's common across a lot of games, especially games with dynamic resolution. Those also exist on the Switch, and they also existed on the Wii U because those are part of game engines. That's just how they work to keep the frame rate locked, or at least as optimal as possible. So 60 frames per second is also standard because it's common across a couple of games. So is 30 frames per second, so is 20 frames per second, so is 15 frames per second, depending on how bad it is in some games, but it is really bad in a lot of games, and that makes it common and standard. I can go about this all day. I can say, video games require screens or they don't require screens being standard because the Wii U and the Switch don't require screens. So not requiring a TV to play your video games is standard. You see where I'm going with this? Stop using your definitions to be real definitions of what's actually happening in the industry. The only real standards that exist for the video game industry are ratified ones. And currently right now, the only ratified one is the ESRB. Take it or leave it, dude. I don't know what else to tell you.
The voice chat's not even going to work in the background. So that means when you get a phone call, the voice chat's going to stop. You're going to get kicked out of the voice chat lobby.
Okay, so just to reiterate, again, the online service is not on the phone. The phone interfaces with the already existing service hosted in the cloud and on the console. The database management alone of something that massive will kill your phone battery and CPU in a matter of minutes, just about. There's no way it's crunching that kind of data and passing that type of data along on its own. When you get a phone call, you do not get kicked out of the lobby. If you read the Nintendo Online app, it tells you how inaccurate that statement is. So I'll quote Nintendo because obviously nobody wants to believe me. The voice chat will disconnect while you're talking on the phone or using another application, but your voice chat will restart in the same room once you open the Nintendo Switch Online application again, as long as the game session is still going. So if you're kicked out of a lobby, you really can't get back in. So if you're turning the app off, or you're locking your phone, or you run another app or what have you, you're still in that lobby. You're not kicked from that lobby. You resume voice chat as soon as the app is back in the forefront. We also don't know if the online app in the future will be natively on the Switch, which would obviously satisfy what you're complaining about. I'm guessing that's what this whole video is about. You should have put the online on the console itself. And when that happens, what exactly would you do? Take a USB port and plug it up to your console so you can buy insert third-party headset here of choice, so you can then have a USB cord dragged across the living room, or I guess in this case, most gamers complaining on YouTube right now really don't even play games in their living room anymore. They play it in front of a computer monitor for some weird reason. But if that's the case, then, and you just want a headset, a USB headset, so you can sit at your desk and play your console as if you're playing a computer game, I understand that. But you're doing the exact same thing. If you had your phone, which everybody has their phone with them, I don't care what you say, it is 2017. Isn't this the complaint about it's 2017? Who doesn't have their phone next to them while they're playing a game or sitting in front of the TV or watching a movie or whatever? Somebody is sitting next to a TV and they're doing this. They're on their phone. That same phone that you always use Here's a novel idea. Take headphones, plug them in your ear, listen to the voice chat on that. The sound comes out of the speaker from the game that you're playing on the TV. Problem solved.
So that means when you get a phone call, the voice chat's going to stop. You're going to get kicked out of the voice chat lobby. If you enter any other app, if you go to the tab menu, right, the voice chat will stop. If you open up your internet browser, if you check your Facebook or whatever, go into your texting application, the voice chat is going to stop. Now when you go back in, of course it'll resume where it started. But if you leave that screen at all, if you leave the Nintendo Switch online app screen at all, the voice chat will stop. And then the other reason why this is worse than we thought it'd be is because you can't even lock your phone and have it work at the same time. So we were already saying, okay, using this app for our voice chat and online functionality for our Switch is going to kill our phone batteries.
If you lock your phone, you can't continue talking. That is an issue. That is a big issue. A lot of people, if you bought a phone, and if it's a sub $400 phone and it's over a year old, if you have an app open and it's constantly showing that screen animation on the screen, that's battery killing. And it completely drains your battery. I completely agree with what Shokio is saying at this point. This I agree with 100%. Yes, that is bad and that needs to be fixed. This is a beta, essentially. This is not the full service. So we could just go in that app and leave feedback, and hopefully they'll resolve the issue, because that is a big issue. It would be great to close this app, continue hearing voice chat like you do in Google Hangouts and Discord and everything else. It would be wonderful if that happened. So Shokio, good point. I agree.
But they put it on another device. I need to upgrade, by the way. They put it on another device that already has apps like it that are better than what Nintendo's offering in the first place.
So yes, there are other apps better than what Nintendo is currently offering in their beta service. That's accurate. Guess what? Those apps are also better than the voice chat on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So what statement are you really trying to make here? Yes, we know they have native voice chat. Have you listened to that native voice chat lately? It sounds like absolute ass. At least the voice chat that I've used limitedly on Splatoon 2 sounds a hell of a lot clearer and much closer to Discord and Google Hangouts and whatever than the native voice chat from the headset that you get natively from the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. That voice chat sounds atrocious. Sounds like somebody talking through a or the original Xbox Live voice chat is what it sounds like, to be honest with you, in comparison to, what you're hearing over a traditional VoIP server and a client such as a phone.
That was fire.
Sounds much clearer. So I get your point. Yes, there are more full-fledged and full-featured apps that work across multiple platforms because they aren't tied to a game platform, for one. And number two, it might have something to do with the fact that these developers, their apps don't have game development as their primary focus. Just voice. I don't know. That's just a hunch. I don't know. Maybe they don't have to spend as much money because the only thing they're focusing on is voice. I'll just let that sink in for a little bit. Let it be known also that the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live, they also have their own dedicated apps or second screen apps, in fear that Wii U would have taken off. They wanted to have their own second screen thing so they didn't look like they were left in the dust. And those apps to this day still lack voice chat. They still lack voice chat or organization of lobbies natively. They don't have it in the app. And users have been begging for this feature since as far back as 2014 on the official forums. And mum's the word from Sony and Microsoft. So where's the complaints about that? I mean, people have been complaining about it, and Sony and Microsoft are like, their app has less voice chat features than Nintendo's does. That's brand new, and it's not even fully functional yet. This is a beta, and it has more voice chat features because it has voice chat to begin with, and those two don't. Now, obviously, devil's advocate means that those apps do have more features overall than the Nintendo online app does, because they tie directly in to the other facets of Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, which to me are huge vulnerabilities, because that means your credit card information, all your purchase history, all the applications, and direct access to your console and everything that the console is reading. That's a bit of a security issue to me, but you have more features because you can see a lot of the stuff that's happening directly on your console. You can turn your console on and off and all that other kind of stuff directly from that app. So overall, playing devil's advocate, PSN and Xbox Live, iOS and Android apps have more features. Currently, right now, Xbox Live has voice chat on the PC app of Xbox Live, but I'm not sure if you can talk to Xbox clients with PC clients. I think it's only PC to PC right now, but at least there's some voice chat on that. But as far as mobile, no voice chat on either of those apps. So if you're just gonna compare Discord and Google Hangouts and Skype, they are all infinitely better than anything on any of the three platforms, be that Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, or Xbox One. Let's just make that statement clear. All of the platforms suck compared to those apps that work across anything. And obviously, why? Because they don't have to deal with game development.
There is 0% logic behind what they are doing with this.
0% logic. There was such a thing. Anyway, the Nintendo Switch Online, it goes like this. I'm kind of paraphrasing what their intent is. You have the Switch console docked. It's sitting in your living room. You have a TV mounted on the wall or whatever, if you know how to do any of that kind of stuff. You have a phone nearby for voice, and you have that phone. You have a Bluetooth headset in your ear connected to said phone, and you're doing voice chat. Or you have a corded headset plugged into your ear, and you're doing voice chat, which is very similar to the old school headsets, or the headsets that come with the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One natively, where you have voice in the ear. Your console sound is coming from the TV. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? The implication of the crazy scenarios when you're talking about, oh, I need this dongle to go here and go here to go there. The only reason you need a dongle, period, is because you're trying to go out of your way to hear both voice and the game all in one headset, which you don't really need to do, and which the third-party headset manufacturers, that's what they do. That's why you pay $50 to $200 for those Turtle Beach headsets. That's what they do. And guess what? On the Xbox One and the 360 and the PS3 back then or whatever, and the PlayStation 4 in some cases, you still use a dongle. There's a little adapter that goes in the back of the interface for your console and the headset. It basically interfaces in between the two as a bypass. And then you get your stereo sound going through your headphones, and the mic you can still interface with on the hot mic on the USB headset. It still works the same way. The same way for gaming chairs to hear sound, there's a little bypass dongle for those as well. It's nothing new. I don't understand why people are up in arms about this. The only thing that they did was make the bypass thing portable, so there isn't a bundle of fucking cables everywhere and a big ass headset on your head. You could just use the regular headsets that come with your phone. You have a little dongle which you could tuck inside your shirt with your headphones like everybody else does, and you're good. And you can walk around with the Switch in your hand and play online. And your phone is also your modem, so you can play pretty much anywhere. Granted, yes, that's going to drain battery. But who is really playing online like that ferociously in a setting where they don't have a modem or any electricity? Short of a camp out, the only other thing I can think of is a limited amount of time in an airport and you're moving. Say on a plane or something to that effect. Because once you're sitting in the lobby waiting on a plane, there's power. There's Wi-Fi. When you're on the plane, if you want to pay for it, there's Wi-Fi. there's power if you're on the, I guess, a higher end flight that has the little jacks, the airline jacks. So you're never really in a scenario where your battery is going to be significantly drained, or you don't have access to Wi-Fi, so you need to use your phone and your battery's draining even more for using that as a modem. Very rare instances, like really shitty hotel Wi-Fi, is the only scenario. And I had to play Dr. Trey in Street Fighter, and he still won't play me now that I'm back home and I have good internet or whatever. But those type of instances are the only scenarios where you would have to use your phone and then use your phone to interface for voice chat or what have you. I mean, but there's always ways around that. Use fucking Discord and keep it moving, like you already talked about. So I don't get to complain anymore. The big thing about the whole living room scenario is there are no cords needed to connect the Switch, either while you're on the go or in the living room. The only reason you would need a cord is if you want to mix game audio with the voice chat. And that's a very minute case of individuals out there that I guess maybe they're doing streaming or something and they're the vocal YouTube minority that want to complain about this. I mean, great. I understand why. And especially if you're the gamer that doesn't have a living room or doesn't want to set it up in a living room because they have to fight with a family or something, and you want to set your console up at your desk instead of in the living room where where console gaming usually happens in the majority of the households in America. I understand that. So if you sit there and you're sitting at a desk or whatever, and you already have a USB headset you want to use and it doesn't work with that console, I understand. If you're plugging up your headphones and you're sitting right there and you can't hear the audio because you have it plugged up to a monitor and you want to hear the audio and everything else coming through the headphone jack from your PlayStation, so you don't need to have an extra speaker system set up with your HDMI monitor that you're using the game instead of a TV. Yeah, I get it. But that's the only case in which this even matters. I mean, that's just the real deal. Like, who needs the dongle? Who are the people that need the dongle? The majority of people that have TVs and you're playing online the majority of the time at home, you don't need the dongle at all. You hear the sound on your TV, voice chats on your phone right here. Speakerphone or headset. And there's no wires in between you and the screen. Sounds like a great solution to me. Obviously Nintendo needs to add some more stuff to it, which is why it's a beta right now. But that sounds like the correct solution here. So, game sound can't go through the app. I know people want that to happen, but it can't. Everyone in the lobby hears each other. Okay? So, the game sound will be passing through. It'll be echoing over and over again because it's the same sound. Everybody's expecting to hear different sound coming in the lobby, coming from everybody talking. The game sound will come through there too, and if everybody's projecting game sound, that's a massive echo that'll kill the entire lobby. Somebody's had that scenario before where you've played with multiple people that are using their Connect on Xbox Live as the voice chat solution instead of the headset. Yeah, how nice of a scenario is that? With multiple people in the lobby and all you hear is the echo and everything in the background and all the game sounds. Every gunshot is echoing every single time. And you hear multiple people echo it. It's almost like you might as well just turn your TV down and listen to them while you play. So, I've drawn on that long enough, but you get it. The people that are complaining about this are, I hate to say it, but you're in the vocal minority. And you don't need a cord going from the Switch to your iPhone or Android or whatever. Speakers exist. I know people want to complain just to complain, but this is the same headset solution that the Xbox One, the PlayStation, and the Wii U, all the other consoles have done this. The Wii U was the only, the Wii U kind of had the PlayStation, and the PlayStation 4 were kind of doing the same thing where you could do you could hear stereo sound from the game and chat at the same time kind of deal, and you didn't need the TV at all for the Wii U, but you didn't need the speakers on the TV for the PlayStation. That kind of happened, but it hasn't been completely separate until now with the Switch, where you have a phone and then there you go. They can do it, it's whether they choose to or not, and depending on who they're trying to protect or whatever. I don't know if it's children because of Splatoon or whatever, and this could be on a game-by-game basis, which I mentioned in another podcast. So We don't know yet. All I know is when you go into the Nintendo Online app, there's an icon list that appears to be there. Splatoon 2 is there and there's nothing else there, but it looks like other icons for other games go there for individual lobbies for individual games. So if that's the case going forward, and especially if they're listed by recent, so the games that you frequent or whatever will always be at the top, that'll be cool. There will be different settings for different games. So for Bayonetta 3, for example, if there's an online multiplayer component there, you can probably do all types of cursing. There's probably open lobbies and you can talk whether they're playing the game or not, and any type of random can talk to you in a match, that type of stuff. For a game that's M-rated, because there shouldn't be any children playing that game based on ESRB, which is the only ratified standard for video games right now.
And Nintendo fans in the past have always made the arguments of, oh, you don't know how hard it is to implement these things, and these things take time, and it might be hard. And of course, they were all wrong back then. Voice chat is not a hard thing to do, people. We've had voice chat working for decades now. And I'm not even talking about just game machines, computers, whatever. We've had voice chat working for decades. VoIP is one of the simplest, easiest things to get running over a server. I know that. I can make a voice chat application right now if I wanted to. It might take me a while because I'm just one person working on it. I'm not like a professional programmer or anything like that. But I know enough of the basics where I could get a voice chat application running if I wanted to.
Voice chat is not a hard thing to do, you say, huh? That's fine. Well, you can roll your own server. You could roll your own Linux voice chat server or Windows voice chat server, TeamSpeak server, or what have you, whatever, right? That's fine, well and good for a TeamSpeak clan. What about application support for dozens of nations and tens of millions of simultaneous game sessions? Think about that. You think your little desktop PC or the little cloud subscription that you sign into for the virtual server that you tried to sign up for on the website will handle that type of aftermath? You really think so? You ever wonder why Nintendo of late has been doing test launches for games such as ARMS and Splatoon? People have to get a grasp of crowd demand with regards to online services. You're essentially DOSing yourself when you open your servers up to the public. You have an online game, you have thousands, if not millions, of waiting, connecting clients to a service that you just launched and is brand new and everybody knows about it. Millions of people trying to log into your service at the same time across dozens of territories and dozens of servers that you have set up at dozens of co-locations around the world. Hey Shokio, that's easy to set up, right? That's IT 101, right? You can easily do that. Come on, dude. Don't exaggerate what's going on here. This is a massive undertaking, to say the least. Number one, they're starting from scratch. They don't have an existing thing like Xbox Live to cling on to. They could have added on to Miiverse and the Nintendo Online thing, but they decided to start over because they're going to have, basically this is going to be a new development that all their future consoles are going to tie into. So for you to sit here and say that your humbug VoIP server can handle millions of simultaneous clients at once is not only deceptive, it's an infernal thought process, dude. And you're going to have all of your followers think that this shit is logical. No. The VoIP server that you try to set up for yourself is nothing like an enterprise-wide public release with millions of potential customers trying to connect. You have no idea what the throughput and demand would be for something like that that's happening all over the world at the exact same time. Shokio, stop it.
And Twitter and stuff like that. That's cool. That's awesome. But it's not on the system. We have to go to a second separate device for any online game.
again, for the cheap seats, because you're creating your own echo chamber here, hoping that if you repeat the same false statements over and over again, they'll eventually be correct. No, the online service does not exist on the app. Everything that you do with regard to online, a lot of these things were done before the app was launched, such as game invites, friend adding, and all that other kind of stuff. All of that existed well before the app existed. So the app does not host it. It doesn't host the lobbies in Splatoon 2. The Splatoon 2 game does. You just connect to that lobby with your app. Note that you have to sign into My Nintendo before you get to the lobby. It's not on the app itself. Note that you also have to connect to your console. You can't just start a lobby before you start the game up. The game has to be running, because guess what? The lobby's on the game.
If you think this is okay, you actually need to seek mental help, because you have some type of unhealthy, I hate to use this word in its literal sense, but retarded mental condition.
You have a mental condition if you disagree. So, and now we come to the conclusion here. So, this is a common false dilemma fallacy, which everybody tends to commit that all the time. This is where you assume that if I disagree with you at all, none of my points hold any validity. Dude, that's patently asinine to say the least, man. I hate to say it. I can feel free to disagree with your opinion, I'll say it again, opinion of how you feel about an online beta, I'll say it again, beta of a supporting application, because you clearly misunderstood the very blatant things that I listed in the very fact page, the Nintendo Online fact page. I really went through that. I went through that with you in the comment section of your video. I've shown it multiple times here in this video, and I don't know what else to tell you. You claim to be quoting data from here, but you misunderstood the very information that you were supposed to be reading. I can source everything that I've said here, and everything that I've stated was with sound, logical processes to arrive at my own conclusions. Who are you to say who has a mental condition just because somebody disagrees with you? Again, the false dilemma fallacy. People aren't retarded just because they don't want to say the same things that you say. And on that note, of ShadowCasts Infinite, do you play games to have fun or to impress other people? Smash the fucking like button if you don't. Smash the dislike button if you want. I mean, we can set a record for that shit too. Make sure you smash the bell though, whether you like or dislike, so you get the updates and whatnot. And yeah, that's it. I'm out. On stepped in the game.